Imagine walking into like one of the most exclusive luxury restaurants in the entire world. You sit down, you're prepared to spend thousands of dollars on a meal, and instead of handing you a thick leather-bound menu, the chef essentially just hands you a blank piece of paper.
Right, which sounds totally counterintuitive.
Exactly. You have absolutely no say in what you eat tonight. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring why billionaires, luxury seekers, and couples planning elite weddings are paying top dollar to completely surrender their control.
Yeah, it's a massive shift in how we view luxury.
It really is. We are unpacking this incredibly fascinating trend, guided by a deep dive into an article titled Japanese Omakase-style Chef's Choice Surprises. Our mission today is to figure out how a deeply intimate traditional Japanese dining philosophy has exploded into the ultimate global trend for high-end gatherings, and, what that reveals about our modern kratom for connection. So, okay, let's unpack this because the foundational concept here completely flips the script on what it means to be a VIP.
It really does. And to really grasp the gravity of this shift, I like to visualize the physical spaces we're actually talking about here.
Oh, absolutely. Set the scene for us.
So my mental backdrop for this conversation starts at a sleek, minimalist Japanese tasting counter. Raw wood, hushed acoustics, focused lighting on just a single chef.
Very quiet, very intimate.
Exactly. But as we trace this trend, I'm watching that quiet six-seat counter seamlessly expand and morph into a massive, glowing, chaotic, modern luxury wedding reception.
Which is quite the leap.
It's a staggering visual contrast, right? But the underlying psychological engine driving both of those rooms is identical.
I mean, normally if we think about luxury like a private jet, a custom suit, a five-star resort, the defining characteristic is control. The more you pay, the more you get to dictate exactly how, when, and where you want things.
Right, exactly.
But at the core of today's topic is the word itself, omakase. It translates directly from Japanese to, I leave it up to you. The power dynamic completely shifts away from the person paying for the meal to the person standing behind the counter.
Yeah, in a traditional Western dining model, the guest essentially acts as the director. You sit down, you look at a list of options, and you give the kitchen a set of instructions to execute.
Like, bring me the steak, medium rare, sauce on the side.
Precisely.
Oh.
Omakase obliterates that model. You put total faith in the chef to curate a highly personalized sequence of dishes. The chef isn't just cooking anymore, they are crafting a narrative.
Right.
They're selecting the absolute best of what they have at that exact moment and designing an interactive sequence specifically for the person sitting right in front of them.
It's a fundamental departure from how we are conditioned to operate. I mean, ordering from a standard menu is sort of like reading a choose-your-own-adventure book. If I pick the steak, I end up on page 40. If I pick the fish, I go to page 60.
And that's a great way to put it.
But omakase is like walking up to a master painter, handing them a blank canvas and saying, paint my portrait. I have absolutely no idea what colors they'll use. But, there has to be a psychological reason why highly successful, powerful people want this.
No, absolutely there is.
We live in a culture suffering from massive decision fatigue. Is the core appeal of omakase simply about paying a premium so you just don't have to think?
What's fascinating here is the concept of a controlled loss of power. High net worth individuals, executives, or even couples planning a massive wedding. They spend all day making high-stakes decisions, managing outcomes, directing people.
Yeah, their whole life is making choices.
Right. So for them, true luxury isn't demanding a specific cut of steak. True luxury is the profound relief of stepping off that decision-making treadmill and trusting an absolute master to just take the wheel.
Buying the luxury of submission, basically.
Exactly. By surrendering the menu, the diner elevates the chef from a cook executing a transaction into an artist dictating an experience.
But if you are handing over total control, the stakes for what actually ends up on the plate are incredibly high. The chef has to deliver something extraordinary to justify that trust. Our sources emphasize that authentic omakase relies entirely on peak seasonal ingredients. Premium tuna, wagyu beef, truffle-infused specialties, fresh oysters, and uni, which is sea urchin.
Yeah, the quality has to be flawless.
But the key detail that stuck out to me is that the menu changes daily based on what the chef sources that specific morning.
Yeah, the sourcing is hyper-specific to the micro-season. A chef might go to the fish market at, 4 in the morning and find that the sea urchin just isn't up to standard that day, but maybe a certain type of mackerel is at its absolute peak.
So they just change the plan?
The entire menu pivots, just like that.
Okay. As someone who appreciates a well-run operation, a menu changing every single day sounds like an absolute logistical nightmare for a kitchen.
Oh, it's intense.
Because in Western fine dining, The pinnacle of achievement is often the signature dish. A chef spends 10 years perfecting one specific plate until it is mathematically flawless. And a diner can fly in from across the world 10 years later and get that exact same flawless plate.
Right. Consistency is king in the West.
So, is throwing that consistency out the window and relying on what's fresh that morning just, I don't know, a clever marketing gimmick to justify exorbitant prices? Or does it genuinely elevate the flavor compared to a static, perfected dish?
Well, we really have to view this through the lens of Japanese cultural aesthetics rather than Western culinary math.
Okay, tell me more about that.
In this tradition, mechanical consistency is not the goal at all. Visual harmony and seasonal authenticity are paramount. The inconsistency, the fact that the menu changes daily, is not a logistical flaw. It is the core of the art form itself.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, the Japanese philosophy of transience celebrates things precisely because they don't last.
So you are basically eating a moment in time.
Exactly. You're experiencing an unrepeatable sequence. Because the ingredients fluctuate based on the micro-season, no two dining experiences can ever be identical.
That's fascinating.
And in a modern economy where you can buy almost anything online instantly, and where luxury goods are mass-produced to flawless perfection, true luxury is absolute scarcity, an experience that exists only for you on that specific evening and will literally never happen again.
That makes the plating and presentation make so much more sense.
Yep.
The visual details, the texture contrast, the seasonal colors, the elegant balance, they aren't just like garnishes on a plate. They are timestamps of that specific moment.
Precisely. They reflect the exact day you are dining.
But the food is really only half the equation here. Our sources point to a psychological engine that runs beneath the food, making omakase actually work. It's a concept called omotenashi, the Japanese spirit of hospitality.
Omotenashi is the invisible architecture of the entire experience. It's often loosely translated as hospitality, but honestly, it's far deeper than that.
How so?
It is the practice of anticipating a guest's needs before they are ever explicitly expressed. It requires a level of respect, precision, and intense attention to detail that transforms a simple dinner into a highly tuned emotional interaction.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the idea of anticipating my needs before I even speak sounds almost supernatural.
It does sound like magic, yeah.
How does a chef actually execute that in real time? I'm trying to picture this without imagining some hovering, overly attentive waiter constantly interrupting my meal. Does it feel magical to the guest, or could it border on intrusive?
It's all about observation. Think of a card counter at a blackjack table.
Okay.
A card counter isn't talking. They're quietly observing every single variable on the table. The cards, the dealer's tendencies, the pace of the game, all to calculate the exact right next move. A chef practicing omotenashi operates with that exact same level of hyper-awareness.
So they were constantly reading the micro-expressions and the tempo of the room.
Exactly.
Give me a tangible example of what that actually looks like.
Sure. So you sit down at the counter, you take a sip of tea, and you set the cup down. The chef notices, without a single word being spoken, that you use your left hand.
Wait, really? Just from one sip of tea?
Just from one sip. And a few moments later, they present your first piece of nigiri, which is a specific, delicate cut of raw fish meticulously draped over a pressed mound of vinegared rice.
Right.
But they don't just place it down randomly on the plate. They physically angle the nigiri so that your left hand can naturally grasp it without you having to twist your wrist.
Oh, wow. They adjust the physical geometry of the food based on a single observation.
They adjust the geometry. They notice if you are eating quickly and speed up the tempo of the courses. They observe if your conversation is getting deep, and they slow down so they don't interrupt you.
That is incredible attention to detail.
They might even tweak the temperature of the steak based on the ambient heat in the room. This raises an important question about how we fundamentally define service. Standard service is entirely reactive.
Right. You drop a napkin, the waiter brings a new one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But omotenashi is proactive observation disguised as invisible care. That's what creates the emotional connection. Guests leave feeling deeply cared for, which standard dining rarely achieves.
And because it's invisible, it doesn't feel intrusive at all. It just feels seamless. Which is actually a brilliant transition into why this hyper-intimate philosophy is suddenly taking over the elite private event space.
Oh, the wedding industry is absolutely eating this.
Yeah, if omotenashi makes a person feel deeply seen and cared for, it makes total sense that people want to replicate that emotional resonance at major life milestones. The source material highlights a massive surge in omakase-style catering for luxury weddings. Platforms like Weddizer are showing couples completely abandoning the traditional wedding buffet.
Or that standard chicken or beef plated dinner.
Right. They are ditching that in favor of live, curated chef interactions.
Because modern consumers are heavily prioritizing experiences over material possessions. A traditional wedding catering model, where 200 people are served the exact same plate of food at the exact same time, it just feels inherently transactional.
Yeah, it lacked that emotional resonance you were talking about.
Exactly. Couples want to offer their guests an experience that feels customized and exclusive.
But, I have to call out what seems like a massive mechanical contradiction here. Everything we just established about omakase and omotenashi relies on intimacy, reading a guest's micro-expressions, noticing which hand they use to pick up a teacup.
Right, the silence of a minimalist wood counter.
Yes. How on earth do you scale a quiet six-person sushi counter to a loud, chaotic 200-person wedding reception with a DJ playing in the background? The logistics seem impossible without completely destroying the soul of the concept.
It's a really valid point, and the answer is you don't